so that everyone who believes in him may have eternal life. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, so that everyone who believes in him might not perish, but have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him. Whoever believes in him will not be condemned. But whoever does not believe has already been condemned, because he has not believed in the name of the only Son of God. And this is the verdict, that the light came into the world, but people preferred darkness to light, because their works were evil. For everyone who does wicked things hates the light, and does not come toward the light, so that their works might not be exposed. But whoever lives the truth comes to the light, so that his works may be clearly seen as done in God. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Good morning. Our readings today focus on covenant, the earlier covenant of God with the Israelites, which we heard about in our first reading today. God says, I will be your God, and you will be my people. Just do as I say, and all will be well. But as we heard, they failed miserably. And then in our gospel reading, we hear about our covenant today, sealed with Christ's blood and love. For God so loved the world, he sent his only Son. Yes, God so loved the world, he sent his only Son to show us how to do the Father's will. That's John 3:16. Have you seen that before? We see that sign all the time, especially during football season. John 3:16, John 3:16. And if you look at the faces at the football games, you can see a lot of people saying, yeah. Put that sign away. Let's get on with the game and point that camera back to the field where it belongs. And why does John 3:16 matter to me anyway? That was 2,000 years ago. And I actually had someone once say to me, they said, I didn't ask this Christ guy to die for me. That was his choice. Why should I care? That was his choice. But how sad. Then they go on, I don't need church. Besides, religion's a crutch. Or religion is for the weak. Yes, religion is for the weak. Have you heard any of that before? Or you may have heard someone say, most churches are filled with hypocrites anyway. The only thing any church wants is your money. There are lots of people who go to church who are worse than me. Or every church thinks that they are the only one who has the truth. Sound familiar? I remember when I was growing up, we always went to 8 a.m. Mass as a family. And I came from a large family. Well, it was the first Sunday after my 18th birthday. And I decided that now I was 18, I did not need to go to church anymore. I'd planned this for months. I was counting down the weeks. So on that Sunday, I slept in. Well, as everyone was getting in the car, my dad did a head count and saw that I was missing. Came into the room and says, why aren't you in the car? I said, well, now that I'm 18, I never did get to finish my sentence. Because he literally reached down, picked up the bottom of the box spring, and did that. And in one swift moment, in the blink of an eye, I found myself under the bed, upside down, with everything on top of me. He says, we're leaving in 5 minutes. I suggest you be in the car. Well, I was ready in 4. Perhaps there might even be a few people here today, like me when I was young, who feel they were coerced into coming to church. As long as you live in my house under my roof, you do as I say. You go to church. I see some smiles out there. Some of us have heard that before, haven't we? Maybe some of you are here today, though, simply because my family expects me to be here. That was me afterwards. Or I'm here because I'm trying to be a good role model for my family, but I really don't get anything out of it. And do you really believe all that stuff? Or parents, perhaps. I'm not even sure why I bother to drag all the kids here. I'm so busy with the kids, I can't hear, I can't see anything. I don't get anything out of it. Or maybe, to be honest with you, early Sunday morning is the best time to golf, but don't tell anyone. Did I miss anything? Did I miss any excuses yet? You know, there are lots of other ways I can spend my precious time, which are more practical, more useful, more fruitful, more fun. And this concept of resting on the Sabbath, who needs rest? I sure don't. I can go 7 days a week. Just ask my friends. And if I did take a Sunday or a weekend off, I certainly wouldn't come to church. I would go to the beach or to an NCAA tournament. And go to church on the weekend while I was there? Don't think so. You're kidding. And then, when I try to tell folks that I don't need church, they tell me, but church is people. It's not the institution. Church is community. Church is family. You need people. And the truth is, I'd really rather do it myself. And I find I'm much better off when I don't have to rely on other people. And besides, I can be a good Christian and not go to church. We've all heard that one before, haven't we? Okay. Well, maybe I'm not describing your feelings, but we all know people or have family members who fall into one of those categories, because I sure do. Well, keep praying for them. Chances are they will come around eventually, as I did. But the bottom line is, we do need the rest. We do need family and community, and we really do need church. And when we think we can do it all by ourselves, and we go, and we neglect ourselves, our mind, our body, our spirit get tired, they get sick. Our mind, our body, and our spirit become ill. Even the best computers need to be rebooted every once in a while. The best machinery needs to be shut down for maintenance. Our cars need to go into the shop once in a while. New batteries, new headlights, new wipers, new tires. And even our wonderful iPhones and iPads, like Matt's over there, need to be recharged. And now that I think about it, I believe that church really is for the weak. Yes, church is for the weak, because compared to God, we are all weak. And yes, even we need to reboot and get recharged. And what better way to do it than to hit Control-Alt-Delete and plug in to church? Because we really do need each other, as church is people, community, coming together to worship and helping one another. When my wife and I moved here to Louisville almost 20 years ago, we had no family. And we did our best to make St. Margaret Mary our home and our family. Soon after, we hosted a Renew, or Bible study group. We had 7 couples in the group. Several of our members have already passed on, but we had a young couple in our group, Gary and Elizabeth, who, like us, had just moved to Louisville from out of state and had no family. A few months after joining our group, Elizabeth collapsed at work, while Gary was in Colorado on business. A coworker called Gary, and Gary called me. and I called Cindy, so that when Elizabeth woke up in the recovery room, she was not alone, as Cindy and I were at her bedside. And then Gary arrived just before midnight. Well, as it turned out, about 3 weeks later, it wasn't even a full month, Cindy collapsed at work while I was halfway across the country. And when she woke up in the recovery room after having a third of her colon removed, it was Gary and Elizabeth at her bedside, holding her hand, till I got there. You know, that experience taught us what church and family are truly about. That family does not mean blood relative. That we are family. And that yes, we really do need each other, because church is people and community coming together to worship and helping one another. And I see that every day here. Which brings me back to our gospel in John 3:16. For God so loved the world, he gave his only Son, to show us how to love and how to care for each other. But God so loved the world that he also gave us the Sabbath. Yes, God so loved the world, he gave us the Sabbath. He said, you were not made for the Sabbath was made for you. So that you can plug in, get recharged, rest from your labors, and come together as family and friends and people of God to give thanks for all our blessings, for we have much to be thankful for, and to recognize that we are to share those gifts, share those blessings. Which brings me to our message series this week, Lent 4.5. I recall when I first heard the phrase Lent 4.5, I was wondering, 4.5, is that like Windows 7 or iOS 8.2? Well, if you read the first Lent 4.5 handout a few weeks ago, you read that if the earth were divided equally among all its inhabitants, each person would get 4.5 acres. And from that 4.5 acres, each of us would have to find everything we need to support our life. Our food, our home, our energy, our transportation, clothing, appliances, cars, gadgets, you name it. But according to the global footprint data, each inhabitant of the U.S. is using 5 times that. Yes, 5 times. A staggering 22.3 acres to make our lifestyle here possible. And this week in our message series, we're focusing on energy conservation. If you read your bulletin insert this week, you will see ways which we waste energy. You'll find ways to conserve energy, as even our world deserves respect. It needs rest. It needs a Sabbath, as we heard in our first reading. For if we continue to use it up at the current pace, it will no longer be able to sustain us. So some of you will say, what can I do? I'm just one person. But I love the quote by Helen Keller in her bulletin insert this week. She says, I am only one, but I'm still one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And then she goes on to say, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. God bless.